before we jump in to our panelists, I did want to let you all know about some announcements. Actually, first, sorry, wanted to let you know who's going to be on our panel this morning. So we've got Valerie Garcia from the Guardian Scholars Program at UC Davis. We've got Dion Washington from the Guardian Scholars Program at Los Angeles Trade Tech. And we've got Cindy Prito, student at UC Davis, who's going to share her direct experience as a former foster care student. So we're very excited to have these three folks on the call this morning. So a few announcements before we jump in. Did want to give a quick update on Senate Bill 1023 because we've gotten a lot of questions about that. This is the bill that passed this year to create support for foster youth within EOPS at the community colleges. So we are currently working on getting a funding allocation from the legislature for the 15-16 budget year. And the Community College Chancellor's Office is going to begin actually working on a process for fund allocation, an application process. So that process is just in the very, very, very beginning stages. We anticipate that over the spring that more information will be available for how colleges can apply to be able to access funding once it's available through SB 1023. So just to let folks know that that still is moving forward, but it's going to take some time before there's actually dollars associated with that program and a process to allocate those dollars. A few other announcements. You can mark your calendars for upcoming trainings that we're doing. January 14th, we're going to be doing a web seminar called Getting the Most Out of Your Meetings. February 11th, a web seminar on building your facilitation skills. And then our next practice call will be on April 8th at 10 a.m., topic to be determined. Also wanted to let folks know about the upcoming Blueprint Conference. We will be doing a statewide conference this year in October of 2015. We don't have the dates yet, but watch your email for more information once we have dates confirmed for the Blueprint Conference. And the last thing I wanted to let folks know is that some of you may have participated in a webinar we did previously about our faculty and staff training. This is a training curriculum that we put together that campus support programs can use to train other faculty and staff at your college about the needs of foster youth. And we are able to actually come and present this training at your campus for a small number of schools. We're going to be able to provide this as a service this coming year. And so if you are interested in possibly having one of our staff come to your campus and do a presentation to your faculty and staff about foster youth, please get in touch with us. And I should have put my contact information on there, but it's Debbie, D-E-B-B-I-E, at johnburtonfoundation.org. So feel free to get in touch with me if that's something you might be interested in. Next slide. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our first panelist, Valerie Garcia with UC Davis.
Hi, thank you so much. I really appreciate you giving me the chance to talk about this. So we can go ahead and get started. So next slide. So I want to talk a little bit about our program mission and our requirements and how we do include students with any experience in foster care, no matter what age they are, when they come into UC Davis. Talked a little bit about the profile of our students that are considered reentry, the challenges they were going through at about 18 years old, reasons why they want to go to college, current changes of reentry foster youth according to our students, and also how GSP has helped them, and then some of the outcomes that we have so far of our reentry students. Next slide, please. So our program mission is, as you can see, it's a Guardian Scholars is a comprehensive program committed to providing services and support for former foster youth to maximize educational opportunities. Professional staff and peer advisors, in partnership with a variety of on-campus units and external agencies, work to best meet their academic and personal needs. So we really go for 4 different areas of their comprehensive support. Transition, coming to UC Davis, retention, keeping them here, and then in order to get to the next phase, which is graduation, and also support to beyond, whether it be career or graduate school We want to make sure that we able to have something in place for them before they leave. Our requirements are very simple. It's just 1 day in foster care, of foster care experience from birth to 18 years old, and we identify that pretty broadly in for in the way that that way students can feel that their experience doesn't have to be exclusive. So it could have been a foster home, a group home, or placed with a relative by the court. Next slide, please. So I want to give you a little bit of profile of the students so far that we've had in our program that are considered reentry. So we've had 252 total students since 2007. Of those, 40 of them are considered reentry as when they entered UC Davis. So that would be 25 years and older. The age range that we've had was 25 up to 58 years old. So one of the students actually graduated when she was 60, which was amazing. The foster care experience, I would say most of the students, that returned their survey and everything, have indicated that they were in foster care their last third of their childhood, so between 12 and 18 years old. So they would actually typically, if they would have came to UC Davis or any college right after, they would qualify for a lot of the benefits of going into a typical program like Guardian Scholars at almost at any college, if we were just looking at their foster care experience. Most of our students, actually all of our reentry students, are community college transfers, and the time that they spent was between about 2.5 years to 4 years. A couple of them took a little bit longer than that as well. Next slide. So the challenges of going to college at 18 or just after high school were mainly, a couple of things. First was instability. So our students indicated that, there was a lack of resources, financial, aid, knowledge, just really not being aware of what their opportunities are or what their options are. The other part of having under the instability challenges were just lack of support. Family, counselor, people, even telling them that they couldn't go to college. We've had several students who have indicated that they were told that since they were in foster care that they couldn't go to college, so they didn't. And so there was a lot of, challenges even just to encourage them in the first place to go to college. The other one I made it its own was survival. A lot of the students have indicated that education just was not a priority. They needed to work in order to have shelter. They needed work to have food, to pay bills, just to live. And that's what they were saying that was happening at 18, since this obviously was prior to AB 12, and and so a lot of our students didn't have the benefits of being in extended foster care, and so a lot of them were were independent and had to survive on their own. So also just want to indicate that many students expressed being homeless at some point after college. After 18 years old. And obviously if you kind of outweigh, what's priority, a lot of them were, again, trying to survive. And education was not an immediate priority. Next slide, please. So reasons why they wanted to come back to college was, one, they wanted to be a role model for the children that they do have. So several of our students are older students in their 30s as well, some of them in their 20s, who have children. And so they wanted to be a role model for them and letting them know that it's okay to go to college, and it's something that they can do. If they can do, their children can do. Many of them also were working, and they wanted a new profession. They've reached their max capacity where they were at. They wanted to know other options in their life. They wanted to follow their passion, so they went to education and college to pursue that. They also felt they wanted to do better for themselves. They know their capabilities. They know their potential. They know that this is an option for them. So education was something that they felt was going to help them get there. So they definitely want to make sure to live their potential. And for many, several of them have indicated education was a way out of their situation. One student also indicated she reason why she wanted to go to college was, I didn't want to live the rest of my life being defined by my past and regret never trying later on. And so a lot of our students feel a sense of obligation to themselves to go back to college. Next slide. So as a reentry student, I also work with, in our department, we have the Transfer Reentry Veterans Center. And in working with them, we also collaborated in terms of some of the challenges that reentry students, not necessarily former foster youth, but reentry students, so students that are 25 years and older. And these are also very common with the students that are in our program, as they have indicated as well. One of them is a connection with other students due to age difference. So they have a sense of social alienation. When they go to class, they see nothing but, young students, 18, 19, 20 years old, and they don't feel like they have that connection with them to be able to interact with them. Most of them are juggling more than themselves. They're juggling family, they're juggling work, they're juggling school, they're juggling so many other things that the traditional age students are, and so that definitely is a huge challenge for them. They are managing more responsibilities, especially financially. They probably have more bills. They have more bills that they're in charge of, and that, more than just to take care of the house and home, but probably their children's responsibilities as well. They also feel they have different priorities, commitments, and interests than other students. A lot of our students, when they come, our reentry students come in, they come in very much more determined to get out. They feel that their age is, is a barrier. If they stop now, that they're going to not be able to come back later. So they have a different commitment and priority to education, where some of the younger students feel that they can explore a little bit more. Another challenge is that navigating campus resources and exploration in a short time period and with limited time. So what that means is that they have, they're on campus and a lot less than the other students. Again, they have other commitments, family, work, a lot of those other commitments that they have. And they also have it, they're, again, transfer students. So they have 2, maybe 3 years to use the campus resources in order to help them pursue their undergraduate education as well as beyond. So they definitely have a little bit more challenges in that way. The imposter syndrome is definitely common with reentry students. And what that means is they have this inability to internalize success. Many of them feel, even now, even after they've gone full quarter or full year, or even some of them are almost graduating, and they still don't feel like they're supposed to. They feel like there's a mistake that the admission made for allowing them in. It's really hard to have them understand that it was their own hard work that got them there. And so, a lot of our reentry students have experienced imposter syndrome, and their mindset then changes their education. The other thing is limited scholarships due to age. I mean, if you see a lot of the scholarships, a lot of them are capped at a certain age. They have, especially, like, for example, even the Chafee grant or some of the benefits of, some of the other scholarships, they're usually capped around 24, 25, 26 years old. So even if they were to apply for scholarships or to apply for financial assistance, there's an age cap. And so a lot of our students are having a really hard time trying to, fund their education. I mean, they're getting benefits, which is great, but they're having a really hard time finding scholarships that also apply to them. Next slide, please. I'm going to have to, hold on. I'm sorry, my computer just kind of went down a little bit. Sorry. So if we can go to the next slide, please. So a lot of us are working with students that come from foster care. So a lot of these, I'm sure, are very familiar to you. These are the challenges as a former foster youth. Now, regardless of their age, this is a lot of the challenges that a lot of our students experience. They, too, also experience imposter syndrome. Again, the inability to internalize success. We've had a lot of students who tell me, I don't think I belong here. I'll look up their GPA, and I'm like, you're passing your classes. You're doing great. Why do you not belong here? Well, I'm not as smart as them. So, I was told I wasn't supposed to come to college. So there's a lot of imposter syndrome that's happening with a lot of the students that are in the program, not just the reentry students. Former foster youth also has there's a sense of lack of community. So we do have 109 students in our program, but compared to the 30,000 students that are at UC Davis, it is extremely small. And so, trying to find each other, trying to find other people like them, and they're having someone in their experience obviously is important. I'm actually going to be meeting with a new student who's an older reentry student who spoke to a counselor and said, I really am interested in talking with other students who are in foster care. And luckily she mentioned Guardian Scholars, so the student is extremely excited to participate in a program that has students like herself. So I'm excited to meet her. A lot of former foster youth also have the feeling of not belonging, kind of same as the lack of community. They feel like they don't belong with the group, a social group. They don't feel like they belong at the university. So there's a sense of not belonging, and it's a challenge that a lot of our students have as former foster youth. For a lot of their students also, exhibit self-sabotage behaviors. We have students who are doing extremely well, and they've admitted to doing something that, could sabotage their path or their progress, by missing class or not turning in something. Some of them have said they are fear of failure or fear of success because they don't know what to do with it. Other students have indicated they have lack of confidence. Lack of self-confidence in themselves to be able to achieve what other students are doing. Even though they are doing it, they still don't see it. Again, it goes back to the imposter syndrome. So our former foster youth also there's a lack of knowledge and concerns with navigating the campus resources and policies. And a lot of our students, most of our students are first college generation, and so they themselves don't know or have family or people of telling them what resources they should look into, where they should go, what to do. And it's extremely difficult for our older students, again, who have limited time on campus and limited time here as a student here to graduate, to be able to navigate the resources on their own when they don't even know what to look for. So a common phrase that I have with my students is, in working with our students, is you don't know what you're looking for because you don't know. And so, when I talk with them, they don't know that they should be looking for tutoring if they don't even know that they need tutoring. So those are some of the things that we always talk about is, resources on campus and how to, where to go and who to talk to. And so it's really great for our students to be able to have a place to go to. Other issues, relationship issues, trust in others. I think that's very common with a lot of our students on campuses nationwide. We also have a lot of students that have academic issues. Many of our students have learning disabilities that they were not even aware of. We had older students who knew that they were smart. They absolutely knew they were smart, but they didn't know why they were not doing well or as well as they feel like they should. We had one student who actually presented at a conference for foster youth and talked about his experience of discovering he had a learning disability. It was his mentor through the Guardian Scholars that asked him, I'm wondering if you have a learning disability. Luckily, we were able to find some funding to get him tested, and sure enough, his quarter GPA went from a 2.2 to a 3.2 within 2 quarters. So he was able to use resources that, for his learning disability. A lot of them also have a lack of study skills, especially they didn't acquire them enough through high school or at the community college. So we have some challenges there. Here is a quote by one of our students. "I don't think there will ever be anything in my life that doesn't relate to my experience as a former foster youth." And I think that's pretty telling for all of our students that were in foster care. Next slide, please. So some of the support that we get from Guardian Scholars, all of our students, not just reentry students, but all of our students, is that they are invited to participate in a program seminar course. So I offer it, this is new as of last year, so I offered it in the fall quarter and I offered it again in the spring. We also have mentors. Most of our students, 60% of our students, have opted for a mentor, and those are campus faculty, campus staff, and also community members within Davis. And they work one-on-one with our students, and many of our students have felt the benefits of having a mentor. By participating in Guardian Scholars, they also receive priority registration. And luckily, at UC, we don't have to follow the legislation. We are recommended to follow the legislation of priority registration for former foster youth, but we can also create it the way we need to. And having that discussion with registrar and a lot of the other campus departments, it was agreed upon that as long as they participate in Guardian Scholars, they would receive priority registration. Academic and personal support from myself. They meet with me on a quarterly basis, checking in, making sure things are okay academically. We talk about their grades, and we also talk about some of the resources that they can use. Obviously, this year, the John Burton Foundation, I want to do a shout-out of a thank you to them. It's been amazing for some of our students. We had some reentry students actually told me they either pay for food for their family or pay for books. And the book voucher came in just in time for them, and they were able to get their books and feed their family. The connection and support from other foster youth, having that connection and whether they talk about it or not, just still that security provides them what they need in support with other students. We also have a new program, as many of you are aware of, called the Guardians Professions Program, and all of our students who are interested in pursuing graduate school will receive assistance through the Guardians Professions Program. Next slide, please. Some other things that they can get out of being in Guardian Scholars is they also have an opportunity to become a GSP ambassador. So we have a formal program now where a lot of our students participate as a speaker. They reach out to current foster youth. They advocate for foster care issues. So we've had some go to the Capitol and speak on behalf of foster youth for a lot of the legislations that are coming up. We have students represent Guardian Scholars, and they also represent foster youth at special events. We've had students go to CASA trainings to talk to future CASA mentors to let them know about opportunities for foster youth in college. So they're a great voice, and a lot of our older students have such great insight to provide to these foster youth and to these also the agencies that support foster youth. And they've been a great addition to our ambassador program. We also help them navigate the campus support and opportunities. When they come in and meet with me, my goal is to make sure that they are aware of a new campus resource or a place to go to or someone to talk to, just so that they are aware of the opportunities that they have here at UC Davis. Here's another quote by a student. "This program seems to find the gaps in a student's resources and help patch them up." Again, these quotes are actually all by our reentry foster youth. Next slide, please. So here are outcomes of our students. 17 of our reentry students have graduated. 7 students are currently attending graduate school or have already graduated with a postgraduate education, which includes going, just basic counseling, teaching, getting the credential, getting a master's degree in education, social work. So we have a lot of students that are actually have moved on. 7 of our students since 2007 have withdrawn or were dismissed for academic purposes. 4 of the 7 are within 1 to 3 classes of graduating, and we are working our tail off to get them back to help them complete those classes and to graduate. The reasons why for leaving or dismissal, much of it was due to family commitment, trying to take care of children, trying to go to school, trying to work, trying to do a lot of those things, and it just didn't work out as well as they hoped for. Some of the other reasons were financial and also some transition concerns. So we've had a couple of students who had some transition concerns when, just getting here and adjusting to UC Davis. So that, and ultimately they were academically dismissed, but we are trying to get them back. 16 of our reentry students are currently enrolled, and 10 are on track to graduate by spring 2015. Most of those 10 are planning to go to graduate school through the Guardians Professions program. Next slide, please. So I'm going to turn it over to Debbie.
Great. Thank you so much, Valerie. That was all great information. So we're going to transition now to the reentry experience in a community college context. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dion Washington with Los Angeles Trade Tech.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. Okay, we'll go to the next slide. Okay, I represent Los Angeles Trade Technical College Guardian Scholars Program. We are going on our fifth year of having the Guardian Scholars Program. We've had foster and kinship care education programs at the school for over 17 years. Our Guardian Scholars Program basically is geared towards anyone. We have some students that come at the age of 16, and we really don't have an age cap. But I find that the majority of our students fall in the range of 16 to 35. Every once in a while, we have a few straggle in. Actually, this past semester, we had a 62-year-old who returned to school, so that was quite interesting. But we were able to help him with whatever he needed. Basic services that we offer, a program overview, we help in securing the award of the court letter, the verification letter, and that's often needed for them for their financial aid. We connect the students to the counseling department, admissions, financial aid, CalWORKS, EOP&S, academic counseling, tutoring, and mentoring. We connect the students to outside sources such as food pantries, some independent housing resources, and also housing resources through DCFS. And we also give advice on how to attain stackable certificates, which is really big at our school. We specialize in the older student because not only are we a community college and we offer, the basic transfer courses needed to go to the four-year colleges, but we specialize in the trades. We have heavy on the trade side. For certificates, it usually takes an average of 1 year to a year and a half to secure certificates so that you'll be able to work. And we have a range of things from cosmetology to automotive to working with electrical, just a range of things. The green field, we have it. Whatever you can think of, name it, we have it. We have the culinary arts, which is really big at our school, and also we're big on fashion. So we help the older students a lot with getting these stackable certificates. And we have extensive counseling in regards to registration and developing an educational plan. We have career counseling. We have support of peer mentors. Some of the students that have gone through the program in the last 5 years that have gone on to four-year colleges, they come back and they help some of the students, and they work part-time doing so. Some just simply volunteer. And then we also are located downtown Los Angeles, so we have a plethora of professionals that have volunteered their time to come work with our students. At this point, 80% of our students that are active in the program are matched up with a peer mentor. assistance in finding affordable and appropriate housing. We've been very blessed, but we have about 3 agencies that work with us. Initially, when we started, that was one of our biggest problems, was finding housing for the students, and that was the problem that was reoccurring with them, throughout the 5 years. But somewhere along the 3rd year, we got tapped into 3 sources, and from that point on, we haven't had a problem with placing our students, whether they're older or younger. We have housing for everyone, and the turnaround rate on getting them placed in housing is usually no longer than 3 days. And even with that 3-day lag time, we have hotel vouchers. So we help with housing and short-term housing and long-term housing. Eligible students, we refer to the program. Usually we try to help the students that have at least been in the program a semester, so that we know that they're serious, because staffing is short and resources that's short also. And we help them with assistance with transportation, which is big. We're located downtown Los Angeles, so cars, and it's not like most of our students don't even have a license. They're heavy on the public transportation, whether it's the green line, the blue line, or some even take the cabs. So we help them with tap cards, bus passes, and also with the free cab vouchers. Next slide. We have 40% of our students are re-entering students. And we usually, like this semester, we have 80 students that are in our program, and 50% of the students are actively in the program. I'll explain to you a little bit. Well, I'll start now and explain to you so that you'll have a better idea of how we classify them. We have 50% are what we call firm grip, and these are students that they go through an intensive program with us. That means that they go through the tutoring, they go through the counseling, they have a peer mentor, and they come and study and use our computer lab, and they access just about everything we have. Not only that, but they also attend our workshops that we have available, which practically once a week throughout the semester they have workshops available. So those are called firm grip. Right now we have 50 of those. And then we have 30 of the 80, which are considered soft touch. And those students are ones that really don't want us to hold their hand. They basically just need help here and there. And usually our older students fall in that soft touch 30, that population right there, that percentage. And they just want a Scantron here and there, maybe assistance with a book, but they're not, and they'll come to 1 or 2 workshops, but they're not going to do the whole gamut. So, but out of our total population, 40% for the semester, say this semester, 40% of the students are over 24. Next slide. Why do we include older students and second-time students? Many people ask me that, and the answer is simple. That for the first answer is that's, like I said earlier, what we specialize in. We are like the lifeline. This is like the last stop. And many of the students that come here, they've already gone to either our community college or another community college or some kind of trade school somewhere, and they run up a bill, and they weren't serious initially, and they got, bad grades in some kind of way, they just weren't serious and they dropped out. And then all of a sudden they get this family, and all of a sudden their back is against the wall, and they say, I want to go back to school. And then they say, well, how can I go back to school? I need to do it quickly. I can't go through a 4-year college, and I can't go for 5 years. What can I do? And then they'll end up at like a LA Trade Tech college. And so the majority of our students, as far as the entire school is concerned, they are of the older population. And so, of course, we specialize in it. Many of the students, I didn't know how many we actually had at this school, because most schools really set an age limit for you. They'll say don't go over 24, and they'll base it up on the Chafee grant, or they'll base it up on some outside source. So initially when we started, we did have an age limit, but we had few students, but not that many. But when we lifted the age limit, then we saw just a ton of students coming, and we saw that there was a need, but we kind of had to work with them and talk to them because they were embarrassed for a number of reasons. Number one, because they were re-entering school and they had left for some reason, probably not a favorable reason, so we had to talk to them. Many of them already felt like, well, I'm not eligible. I'm not eligible. So they really wouldn't even be seeking anything. So we have to really reach out to that population and let them know that we do have something for you. Come see us. And then when we did, they all did come. So how do we deal with it right now? We have like a grid. And this grid says what you're eligible for at each age, even all the way up to 62, like the man that just came the other last semester. We say that you're available for housing for Chafee Grant at this age. You're available for this, and so the grid is a color grid, and across the grid, so when they come, we just show them and say, this is where you fall, and this is what we can help you with without too much dialogue. But it's important, no matter what type of school you are, that you reach out to that population, because I find that the older students are the ones that need us the most. The younger ones have a little bit more time. They have a little bit more leeway. So you don't, and they still are connected to their foster parents sometimes, somewhat, so they at least have that support. But the older ones are really out there on their own, most times trying to have a family and go to school, and they need us the most. So if you could, and if your administration allows it, see what kind of services you can offer them and reach out to that population. Next slide. Okay, the defining characteristics of the older cohort. They struggle with housing most often. They struggle with financially. Many are parents. Many have legal issues, big at my school in the inner city. Many lack a plan of any sort, whether it's career or education. Many have holds on their accounts, and that's from going to school previously, dropping the classes and not getting that cleared up, or failing and are not paying fees. They have holds on their accounts. Many lack high school diplomas. We're big at LA Trade Tech as a trade school in the inner city on getting the GED. So half of our population outside of that 80, there's another 80 getting GEDs throughout the year. Many have struggled with math, making it hard for them to get a degree. That's just about all of my students. I mean, the math is, so we're heavy on the math and getting tutors for math because they struggle with math, whether they're new foster, just emancipating their older students, math across the board. The majority of them need a trade of some sort, of some form of certification so that they can work right away. They need employment right away, so they don't have a lot of time to waste on, just fluff. They have to have some kind of certificate program that connects them directly to a job. And the majority are in need of a career, not just another job. Many of the students, have had jobs, Chuck E. Cheese, Subway and things like that, and they don't really last or they don't pay enough. So now they're looking towards a career. So this is the characteristic of the older student that comes to LA Trade Tech. Next slide. Similarities across the board. They have needs to related to homelessness, employment, finances, basic skills. Those are all universal. Some also have needs related to mental illness. I remember some of the first problems that we encountered, I was just like, what part of this, we would be making plans and we would set up appointments and, sometimes things just wouldn't happen. And then over the semester, I would start to see these breakdowns happening. And, after a couple of years of that, I realized after counseling some of the students, and many of them were formerly on medication, but once they emancipated, they just stopped taking it, whether they were too lazy to get it, someone didn't make them get it, they didn't like the way it felt, but they had been taking medicine all of their life and just stopped. So a lot of the challenges that I see with the older population and even the younger population is that that piece with the mental health, that needs to be addressed. And I think the sooner you ask, that should be a part of the questionnaire, just so you will have a basis of what you're dealing with going in and no surprises on the other side. But that's one across the board. And having a program equipped to deal with many of these things has proven to be just so helpful. And the way we address this, because our funding is really funny. We do a lot of fundraisers. We do at least 3 fundraisers every year to get money, and we have some money that comes. It's not promised every year, so you have to always look ahead. But we wanted to put a plan in place that would help us address this no matter what. If funding just dried up and we didn't have a dime, how could we make this happen? So everything that I've told you from the first slide into this slide, this is all run by a minimal staff, but it could run even if the staff wasn't there. We have developed a team. We have an on-campus team, and we have an off-campus team. The on-campus team is built of our key players on campus. It's about 20-some odd people in every department that are champions for foster youth. And then we have an off-campus team that is built of different community resources that have been proven, tried, and that their resources are actually viable and that they're there and accessible. And with this, we have a total of 49 people that are on our team. We are able to run this program whether there's money or not. And so we're able to address all of these needs. So building a team and building a referral process and community resources, that's very important in making sure that they work. Next slide. Service is unique to the older cohort. Basically, I would just emphasize, like the first presenter, that with the older cohort, their time is so valuable, and I find that they get frustrated if they feel that their time is being wasted or there is not a concrete plan, because as I said before, they're coming back and they're looking specifically for someone to guide them, someone to tell them the quickest way between 2 dots, and that's a straight line to get to the other side of what they need, which is a career, and when will they start making money. So their time is important. So with them, when I see what age bracket they fall in, they all get a plan. But when I see that they're older, we help them in a different way, and we have a questionnaire to find out what their goals are, especially as it relates to them having family and most of them are already working. How can we help them? And sometimes they just need help with small things. I find with the older cohort, they don't need a lot of things. We don't really have too many that are coming in 24 and older and that are just totally dejected and homeless or in such a way. Usually they've latched onto something, either a job or housing, and something's working, whether it's their Social Security check, SSI, but they have something. They just need help over the hump. So giving them a plan and then helping them with the little pieces and helping them to work the plan, that is usually what we have to do for them. Next slide. How do we respond to their needs? This is one big thing I will say. When we initially started, I was so happy, but there really weren't too many programs that had been established to do this type of work. So I just made this approach, and I said, this is what we're going to do for each student. This is a file. This is what we're going to offer, and we're going to do this for each student. Well, that didn't go so well, because what ends up happening is as you begin to develop you begin to interview your students and developing their casework and developing their folder, you'll see that when they answer the surveys, all of their needs are different. It's like different combinations. So the one thing I can say is to just throw the kitchen sink at them, ask them every question, and then what you do is from that information, you derive a plan on how to help them. But definitely it is not a cookie-cutter approach. It's on an individual basis. And once you see what they need, then you develop a plan to help them, and you go forward from there. Next slide. I just want to share with you 2 cases of 2 students that we have that fall in the older cohort. And we have one young lady named Cassie. I changed her name for the sake of this phone call. Cassie is one of the young ladies that has been in rehab, which at Trade Tech in an inner city, at the trade school. We have a lot of students that have entered that have been through rehab, and we have a lot of students that are off of probation. But Cassie is one who had been through rehab, and she was off of probation, and she has 3 kids. and she's been clean for 3 years. And she came back to the school, and she was one where they gave her a year of free housing. She has a Social Security check. She has a year of free housing. She wants to do cosmetology, and she's trying to keep her kids because she's connected to the Department of Children and Family Services with her children now. Not only does she go through the system, but now they're in her life with her kids. So this is a case with all these different pieces. Now we have to figure out how to help Cassie. So when she came to us with all of those pieces, we sat down with her and we made a plan, and we made the quickest plan, the most precise plan as possible in regards to her child care needs. We put her, in a cosmetology program, and we put her in an AM session while the children were in school, and we just helped her with it. So now she's finished her first year, but along the way, she had different needs. Sometimes it was food. We went to our food pantry, gave her food. Sometimes it would just be help with the electrical bill. We helped her with that. And it was just minor things of cosmetology kits. We helped her with that. But I'm very proud of Cassie because she's completed one whole year, and she only has a few months left. And she already has a salon lined up for her to work. And DCFS, they've seen her be consistent in schooling, which I give them a letter about her attendance and her showing up and her being active in our program and how she uses the resources properly. So all of that is working together for her. She's an A student, and so she's one of our success stories. The other student we have is Elizabeth, who is a former teen parent. She initially came to LA Trade Tech when I first started almost 17 years ago, and when there was no Guardian Scholars Program. And she had so many issues, and at the onset, she became pregnant, and we just didn't have anything to help her. We didn't really have a Guardian Scholars Program, so we weren't really deemed to help her, but we didn't have anything even if, we wanted to offer. And so we struggled and we learned on the job with Elizabeth of how to get these resources, and we learned how many of the people offer services, but they're really defunct, they don't work. So through trial and error, we said, well, if we ever have a program like this, we need to make sure that all of these resources work, because I'm tired. We were just going places, and they were saying they could help her, and they couldn't. So long story short, she went ahead and dropped out of school, but she came back to school about 5 years ago when we initially started the Guardian Scholars Program, and she graduated last year because now not only did she help us build the Guardian Scholars Program based upon what wasn't working 17 years ago, but she served as a peer mentor. She helped us to get it running, and now it's running seamlessly. But she is one of our success stories because now she still has her son. She's doing well, and she's working actually on her bachelor's degree and getting her AA in the spring. So she's another success story. But, just learning through trial and error and making sure that the different things work. When you have a referral list that works and you have people in place, peer mentors, and a team that works, then you can help see people like Elizabeth get her AA degree and go on to a 4-year college. Next slide. So that's my presentation for LA Trade Tech College. We're really excited about the things that are going on in regards to Guardian Scholars and seeing more Guardian Scholars programs come on board. And I just see, for me, just from 17 years ago not having a program to now being 5 years into having a program, I can honestly see the difference that is made, not only in the self-esteem of the students, but also having that helping hand to help them finish and complete things for once in their life and to go on to success, not only in education, but in their lives. It's been a wonderful journey. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Dion. So with that, we're going to turn it over to Cindy Preto with UC Davis, who's a student over there, who's going to talk a little bit about her own personal experience. Cindy?
Thank you. So my name is Cindy. I am a graduate student currently at UC Davis in the Department of Entomology. And I started as an undergrad here as a transfer student in viticulture and enology, and I have since received my bachelor's degree and continued on to grad school. I originally did go to college when I was 19, and I did 2.5 years at a junior college, and I struggled a lot. I mean, it's not an easy thing to go to school. I didn't have the support of my family. I didn't have financial support. I didn't have emotional support. I was the first one in my family to go on to college, and I don't think they really understood the importance of it, and therefore I didn't have the support that you would normally have from a family to go on to college. And because of that, I struggled. I was expected to pay for my own college, and because my family claimed me on their taxes, I wasn't able to get any financial aid. So I had to put myself through school, and I had to work while going to school to be able to live. And I believe it was my last quarter, I had 17.5 units in a semester system. I waitressed 4 to 5 nights a week. I was a teacher's aide for the biology department, and I tutored in between classes at the college. And I still didn't make enough money to pay my bills. And I struggled a lot. And I got accepted to UC San Diego, and I wasn't sure how I was going to make it happen. Like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what resources to reach out to. I didn't know how I was going to pay for it. And it seemed very overwhelming, and I had no one in my family to really guide me along the way. And this was back in 2000. So I don't believe programs were around then, and if they were, I didn't know about them, and no one told me about them, and I wasn't sure how to find them. And so I dropped out. I didn't go to UC San Diego. I got in, and I didn't go. I took 12 years off of school, and I recently returned 4 years ago, and with the knowledge of growing up a bit and having experience in life, I knew more what I was interested in doing and the direction I wanted to go than I did when I was 19, first starting. But it's a struggle. You come back into school, and you're older, and you don't have as much in common with the 18-year-old or the 25-year-old sitting next to you. Me being now in my late 30s, it's hard to connect with people. It's hard to feel like you fit in or that you're in the right place. And it's a struggle for sure. One of the amazing things when I applied to Davis, it does ask you in the application if you were ever a former foster care youth. And by clicking that, on the application, I was approached via email by the Guardian Scholars Program, and letting me know that there was a program that offers services and help and brings together students of very similar backgrounds. We all have different stories with foster care, but a lot of it's very similar in many ways. And through Guardian Scholars Program, I met 2 other students since I've been here that are both in entomology and both reentry students. So we have things in common, and you make friends with someone that you don't have to explain to them the difficulties of your family or what you've been through or what you've seen. It's very simply put, when you say something, they understand the brevity of what you're saying without having to explain and get into detail. They get it because they've been there, and you associate with them, which helps a lot. I mean, I think we've been a great support system for each other going through school. And that's one of the amazing things about being able to be a part of the Guardian Scholars Program, is that being able to meet other people that you can grab onto and make friendships with and support each other, trying to get through a very difficult time. And education is amazing, but it's very challenging and it's hard, and it's nice to be able to feel that you've met friends, that you understand each other, you come from the same background. So with that, I think as a reentry student, we do face, there's different challenges that we face than if I was 18 years old coming into school. And I think there is some of the things that Valerie said I agree with. Definitely I have more financial responsibilities. I have a hard time feeling like I belong or I fit in, or finding my space where I feel that I'm good, in classes and everything. You sort of feel like sometimes you stand out instead of, blending in. And I think that without a program like Guardian Scholars Program, I'm not saying I wouldn't have made it through, but it definitely has given me the support, like emotional support that I needed, I think, and I was looking for, and I think other students that are older are also looking for. Sorry, I have to drink water. I think I'm getting a cold. So, and I'm also a part of the Guardians Professions program now that I'm a graduate student. So I'm continuing on with working with Guardian Scholars Program and also Guardians Professions Program. And I find that these programs are invaluable in helping support me and my education, and bring together people of a like background that that you can meet and make friends with. I'm really, really happy that it's available to us, because I don't think these programs were available when I originally went to school.
Great. Well, thank you, Cindy. Sorry that you're not feeling well. I appreciate you being on the call, despite coming down with something. So that was really great information. So if we can move to the next slide. So I'm hoping that now we can open it up to a conversation for those of you on the call. The questions that are on your screen are questions to ponder that you could respond to, but I also just want to open it up to any questions that you may have, or if you want to share what your campus is doing. I think everybody on the call is a campus representative or working in some capacity on a campus. We've got about 23 of you on the call right now. And so if you have questions, you can also send them in through the question panel if you'd prefer that to speaking out loud. But I would encourage you to, I think that we'd really love to see these calls be an opportunity for folks from across the state who are working with foster youth on a campus to be able to really just share, learn from each other, really make this a peer learning opportunity. So thinking about whether your campus does serve students who are 25 years or older, and if so, why or why not? How do you approach the population? Are there ways that you can leverage this population to serve younger students? So Sally, I'm going to unmute you because it looks like you raised your hand, so go ahead.
Thank you. I'm from UC Santa Cruz, and as it happens, our Smith Renaissance Society here at UCSC ended up being housed under the department that we call STARS, which is Services for Transfer and Reentry Students. And this also includes, we include veterans in our reentry population, as well as any undergraduates aged 25 and older, any student parents, or, as I said, the military vets. And it's been really interesting for me to watch the progression, because early in the program, when Smith first started, we were taking students of any age, and over the years, I felt like I would like to see the Smith Renaissance program stay available to students of any age, because as one of the quotes said on the presentation, the experience doesn't leave you at any point during your life. And so I thought there were things that our students could still get out of the community that we create for Smith Renaissance students. And as it's turned out, because we have a major fundraiser who supports our program and is he's just passionate about our program. He really had a lot of influence in us limiting ourselves to age 35. And I want to point out that this is only in terms of the financial support that we provide our students, because our students can qualify for scholarships that we have. But certainly, if that student wasn't able to be helped by Smith Renaissance, Reentry Services is right here too. So it works really, although I see the point of having a lot of these programs living in EOP, there are some real advantages for us in having them work as part of our STARS program.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that experience, Sally. That's a unique situation, so it's really interesting to hear how that's worked for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else on the call that's interested in asking a question for our panelists or sharing your own opinion or thoughts about serving the older population? We have a fairly quiet group on the call. Well, let me ask another question, actually, which is, I'm curious to hear from folks on the call about this approach of making these calls, providing this opportunity for discussion. We've tried this a couple of times, and we usually only have one or two brave souls who raise their hands and are willing to share. So I'm wondering, I'd be really interested to hear from folks, would your preference be for us to continue to try to do this so that you can hear from other campuses, or would you prefer that we just convert these calls to a straight web seminar format and not continue to try to have this discussion? If anybody has an opinion one way or another. Okay, Nadine, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. Go ahead.
Hi. I really like hearing what other campuses are doing. It really helps me because I'm kind of new in the FLOSS Youth position, so it really, really gives me like a good idea of where to start and what to do, rather than just getting all of this information. Actually seeing what they're doing is really helpful for me.
Great. Okay, good to know. Marina, looks like you're raising your hand, but you need to enter a PIN in order for me to unmute you. So if you can do that, or maybe you raised your hand by accident, or feel free to type it in if you're for some reason having trouble with this. In the meantime, Lil, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. Go ahead.
I like the format you have set up, because even though we may have had the program for a while, it's always helpful to hear what other colleges or other sites are doing. Gives us more ideas.
Great. So it sounds like a couple of you are saying that it's really helpful, which is great. So what that means, though, is that, for those of you who are on the call who...
I'm on a conference call, but I'm on mute.
Sorry, Sal, I didn't actually remute you again. Let me do that. Okay, now you can talk to whoever's in your office. So in order for us really, for folks to get the most out of this experience,
you can. I'm on a.
Go ahead, Marina.
I'm on a conference. No, it's muted. What I'm saying, I meant to say is muted. You can talk. It's ended.
So, Marina,
Not really.
I think I just unmuted you.
Yeah, I can. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, Fawn. I meant to say that I can talk. I'm on mute.
All right. I think Marina didn't realize that we were able to hear her there, if I remuted her. So I was going to say that for those of you who have been doing this work for a while, it sounds like those are folks, well, both of those of you who are newer and those who have been doing work for a while will be really interested in hearing from other campuses. And so we'll certainly continue to have campus representatives speak on the calls as panelists, but it would also be great if the rest of you on the call, if you have things to share, it sounds like that would be really valuable for people. So Marina, I'm going to try to unmute you again and see if that works. Marina, are you there? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, so go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. So yeah, I just agree with what others have said in terms of being a new person in this position and just developing a program. It is very beneficial to hear what other established programs are doing, and so it is very helpful. It would be really a good thing, in my opinion, to maybe have something like this where it's more of an open forum, even to just talk about whatever issues may be coming up during that time. You know, it would be good to just get some sort of topic and get more information on that, but then also just be able to talk about different challenges or struggles that are, you know, happening currently.
Great, that's great feedback. I think maybe we'll give that a try with our next call. Maybe we'll have a topic, but then we'll also open it up for a little more broadly for discussion. Or, you know, I mean, we can even do that now. If folks, you know, we've got, like I said, about 23 folks from different campuses across the state. So we've got folks representing 2 years, 4 years, rural, urban. Yeah, I know some of you participate in either the Northern or Southern California consortium meetings, and this is an opportunity where everybody can get together, especially for those of you who are maybe a little further afield or for one reason or another have a difficult time being able to make it to in-person meetings, so that everybody can have an opportunity to engage in these kinds of discussions. So, and we did have somebody that just sent in a comment saying that it's nice to hear what other campuses are doing, and it gives them ideas for their program. We'll be interested in hearing about what steps people have taken in order to get resources. So that's a comment from Orlando Roybal. I hope I'm not butchering how your name is pronounced. So Lisa from Sonoma, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. Go ahead, Lisa.
Yeah, I was wondering about the item 4 under the discussion, the success campuses have had in expanding party registration beyond the age of 24. Are most of the campuses able to do that, or our registrar has given us a little bit of pushback on whether she wants registration to go past that age because that's what's in the legislation. I was just curious if other campuses are having more success with that.
So does anybody have an answer to that question?
Is it okay if I'm going to talk? Debbie, is it okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm curious because obviously each campus is going to, so CSUs and community colleges definitely have to follow the legislation. And I do think that when we went into the UC, at the UC, when we went into our meeting, we were prepared to talk a lot about our student experiences that were not just for the older students, but also we have foster youth that were not in foster care before the age of 13. Mm-hmm. So our program, we have students that were in foster care at any time. And then when they enter UC Davis, they're at any age. And so when we talked about each of those students, those types of students, they were able to relate to their experience a lot better. And so, you know, and I think it would be great if they had an opportunity to even meet some of these students and hear about their challenges. I know for sure our students, all of our students who've had priority registration, talk about the benefits of it. They're able to get their work schedule better. They're able to get their, you know, pick professors that, you know, meet their academic needs better. They're able to pick classes that balance out their harder classes better. So, you know, they really see the benefit of receiving it. And in that communication with the campus, you know, departments, we really talked a little bit. We kind of profiled them. We you know, gave them case examples of our students, and they listened, and you know, they really felt like they were able to connect with the students when they heard some of their stories. So I would probably recommend doing that, and and even inviting them to some of their program events where you have students that are outside of that legislation for priority registration. They gave me sort of this, I guess you could say, this power that as long as, you know, they're participating in Guardian Scholars, then they would receive it. And so I really feel like it's been amazing for our students.
Great. Anybody else? Any other campuses out there that have managed to expand priority registration past the age of 24? You'll be willing to talk about how you're able to do that? I know that Santa Rosa Junior College did. Yeah, Dion, go ahead.
Yeah, at LA Trade Tech, what we do is there's two different strands. So we follow the guidelines, and it's up to age 24 for the first strand. And then the second strand of priority registration is all-inclusive. So if they have a award of the court letter, we're able to get them in on the second strand. So that's probably a week later. But they do get priority registration.
Did you have to do a lot of advocacy for that, or was your administration open off the bat?
My administration, yeah, they're a little bit more lenient, but you just have to explain to them the reason why. You have to keep in mind that most often the administration, even though they're being asked to do all of these things for foster care, they really don't understand the population and why it's important, and the limitations that some of them face. And with the, you know, just their resources and the time that they're available to do it. So what I did was a face-to-face meeting with my VP, Dean, and the president, and I just explained to them, you know, the scenario and why it was important, and then they gave me an option. So what we do right now is after the first batch of students go in, up to 24. Then we do the next week we do the second batch of students. That's all inclusive, and also anyone we miss on the first strand, we do that manually and we walk it through. So I think depending on your administration and if you explain it, they might be flexible, but it's a case by case thing.
Great, thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
So I don't see anybody else raising their hand at the moment. We'll give it a couple more seconds to see if anybody has final thoughts about this topic of serving reentry students. And if not, then stay tuned, watch your email for announcements of upcoming web seminars and practice calls for 2015. Marina, I'm not sure, you raised your hand and then it looks like you put it down. Raise your hand again if you want to talk. Okay, I'm going to unmute you. Go ahead, Marina.
Hi, I was just going to add that, yeah, Chico State has also had a little bit of resistance about expanding the age and really wanting to follow the guideline that came from the Chancellor's office. But we're also using Valerie's strategy of organizing students to, you know, go before and meet with our president as well as potentially the registrar to really give them an idea of these the challenges that these students face. I mean, just because they're older, you know, they still, as we just heard and have experienced, you know, they still could really benefit from those services. And so I think really bringing that that human story and experience to administration. I think that can be really helpful, and I think we're going to be successful. I also appreciate sort of the different boundaries that other programs have put up on that. So, for example, you know, making sure that students perhaps are participating in the Path Scholars program here at Chico State to be, you know, eligible to use that benefit. So I think that's a really good way to kind of maybe put a little bit of boundaries around it. I think that would be really helpful too.
Great, thank you for that information. So I'm going to go ahead and close the call. Again, thank you to all of you for participating this morning. Special thank you to Cindy, Dion, and Valerie for the great presentations. And we look forward to talking with you further on our next practice call in 2015. Have a great day, everybody.
All right, well, thank you so much, Debbie. Appreciate it.